recording? All right, everybody take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. All right, we are going to go to a section on text 41, paragraph 1, called Error and the Ego. All right, and we actually did start working on this section, but I think I will just go through it fairly quickly till we get to the point where we didn't read last time. So, error in the ego. The abilities you now possess are only shadows of your real strength. All of your present functions are divided and open to question and doubt. This is because you are not certain how you will use them and are therefore incapable of knowledge. You are also incapable of knowledge because you can still perceive lovelessly. Perception did not exist until the separation introduced degrees, aspects, and intervals. Spirit has no levels, and all conflict arises from the concept of levels. Only the levels of the Trinity are capable of unity. The levels created by the separation cannot but conflict. This is because they are meaningless to each other. Okay, so this is actually a pretty chock full of nuts paragraph, so I guess I will talk a little bit about it. All right, so the abilities you now possess are only shadows of your real strength. And basically what that means is, since the separation, we do not align, identify, know who we really are. And so we're not experiencing all the abilities that we are and what we're capable of. All of your present functions are divided and open to question and doubt. When we were aligned with oneness, we knew. Since that separated experience, we now are confused because there's duality. I'm not certain of what it is that I am experiencing. And just real quickly, take this little guy out. You want to think about it from the perspective of this is love and oneness and truth, and this is everything. When we had the belief in separation, we covered it over with this slide. The slide is now what we believe is our reality. And if you want to think about this is back here. It's not in our conscious awareness. This is this is the thought of God, which is constant, which we covered over with the slide. We now see projected on the screen the picture of what is in our mind. There should really be two of these because I can't have it here and there, but you get the point. So this is what I look out on the screen. I'm the hero of the dream in the middle. That's the me, individual. And it appears that all these characters that are around me are not a part of me. But in truth, they're actually coming from my mind, my mind that is back here being projected on the screen. So a lot of times, that one prayer, I am responsible for what I see. Most of us go, what are you talking about? I'm responsible for this stuff that's going on in the world. It makes no sense. But if we understand that what that's talking about is I'm responsible for this because the Son of God chose the separation and then projected it out into the world, forgot that they were the ones that did it, and we spent all of our time playing in the world, trying to fix it, change it, make it better, do whatever we do. And that's why workbook number 5 says, I'm never upset for the reason I think, because think I'm upset for something that's going on out on the screen. But in fact, we are upset because we believe in the separation. It's a very different turnaround of understanding. What's that? Well, somebody complained it was too bright in their eyes. We weren't ready for the bright light.
It's perfect to have the light because it actually did reflect.
I can bring it back. I have it. I had a light on here instead of this that actually was a light that turned on, so you could see, the light underneath it, but yeah, I can bring it back. I know, okay.
See, we're all split about that.
There, let's see how, she didn't even see it, so she doesn't know if she likes it or not.
See how we do have an opinion, even if we
All right.
based on somebody else's idea, right?
Right. So you might think of once the separation took place in the mind of the Son of God, he then was uncertain about everything because he didn't know who he was. He's now aligned with the opposite, and understand and remember the opposite is always totally and completely different than what our truth is.
And wasn't he expecting it to, we were expecting it to be all groovy.
Oh, well,
So,
yes.
I mean, we kind of had it, I mean, it seems like if we made this choice to separate, that we thought it was going to bring us a lot of good things.
Yes, because we thought we were going to bring God's love and all the gifts he gave us with us, but instead this covered this over, and now we forgot that's part of who we are. So we're kind of like stuck in this not so fun place. It's the opposite of what love is. And we can only have one or the other. This is a unequivocal one or the other storyline.
I'm just thinking about, the initial disappointments in life, about how somebody gets something and you didn't get it. To me, when you're a child, how you're anticipating something different. You're anticipating to be, you would get everything too, just like everything.
Yes.
You're anticipating that kind of a structure of a experience, and instead we cry because that we didn't get it. I mean, it's just so interesting how that's it's a touchstone of, oops, what are you crying about? I'll give you something to cry about. That kind of idea so the depth of crying is something we don't know until we get older, or how much more crying we're going to have to do before we can, figure it out that we don't have to cry at all, if that's possible.
Right, and and we'll take that a little further. Let's say you go out and buy a brand new car and you're all excited and it's shiny and pretty and whatever, and then what do? The moment you pull out of the driveway, oh no, someone could hit my car, or you park it way back in the parking lot or whatever it is because you don't want to get it scratched. So even when we do actually get good things in the world, there always comes the other side. I got the new girl on my arm or the new guy on my arm. Well, somebody else starts, winking at them. Well, all of a sudden, my seeming joy has been tarnished a little bit. And literally everything of the illusion has to come with that other side. Only in truth do we have that oneness and constant aspect.
I mean, so everything we put our faith in other than God.
Well, exactly.
We don't know even what, as a child. I feel like as a child I was given that concept very early. Mm-hmm. My grandmother I watched her make miracles happen because she was so devoted.
Right.
And I feel like I really fell into that place. Like I never was much of anything else, but I really knew that. As and I guess it was a good starting off place, even though it took me a while. It still was a good starting off place because it gave me the idea there's more than just this.
Right. Yep.
Whatever it is, I don't know. But
God's gifts only come with oneness, right?
Correct.
So there are no gifts outside of oneness.
Right. And keep remembering God's gifts aren't anything in the world. God's gifts are eternity, Christ, joy, innocence, the same. And all of these gifts are his that he freely shares with us. The moment we chose for separation, we dumped that in the garbage, and then we chose for literally the opposite, thinking we now have more than everything, but we have less than everything because love stayed back there. And now we have just the opposite. And immediately I have the separation from myself and God, and then from everybody else as we projected it into the world. So we did not get what we thought we wanted. And isn't that pretty much true with everything in our world? I'm going to pick on kids because, most people think they want to have children. They have children and they think, oh, they're just going to be this joyful, wonderful, 24 hours a day, fill me up and, I've got this, whatever. And that's not how it works. Not that there's anything wrong with having kids. I have two. I'm happy I have them. But, they bring all kinds of things that aren't exactly what we call joy and peace and love. Even if they're perfectly wonderful children, just your concern to make sure they're okay is nuts. 24 hours a day, even if they're grown up, you're still in your head with that. So it's, again, everything of the illusion. And, we're literally being asked to become consciously aware of how true that is, of how, I'm constantly having concerns or upsets or whatever, even with things that I think are good in the world. So, yeah. Yep.
Kids especially, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Having seen a lot of people with brand new kids now,
Sure.
showing me their brand new children, I was shocked a lot of times by some of the things that they thought the child would know already. Mm-hmm. And one of the examples was that I used to go to this person's house when their younger one was only 2. And so I would go there and see what, clean up their kitchen or whatever. And I would see this big knife on the counter. And I said, oh, we better put this away. And he said to me, oh, she knows she's not supposed to touch that. And I thought, you are in La La Land, buddy, if you think that girl is not going to touch that.
Right.
If you leave it there, she's going to see, what is that, And so I just put it away. I didn't say anything else. But yeah, people are they expect their children to be exactly how they are, actually, to have all that mental equipment about do this and do that, which is very interesting, and it's also kind of dangerous, but I guess I like to walk on the wild side.
All right, so he says, you are also incapable of knowledge because you can still, well, I have to read the line before that because it talks about knowledge too, sorry. This is because you are not certain how you will use them and are therefore incapable of knowledge. And understand, knowledge comes from, you notice it's on this side over here. Knowledge is on the side of oneness. Knowledge is not information, it's knowing. And no knowing is capable in the separated state. So that's what it's telling us, that you are therefore incapable of knowledge when you are living in the separated state. And then he goes on to say, you are also incapable of knowledge because you can still perceive lovelessness. And literally, when we're coming from the separated state, we're always experiencing lovelessness because it's a kill or be killed world. That's what it's made of. I'm the innocent victim in the middle. It's somebody else that's doing this to me. And, I often talk about the idea of not only do we want to have something that will make me an innocent victim, we demand that we have something on the outside that will show me that I'm an innocent victim. Because I can't play the game of innocent victim without a perpetrator. It's impossible. And that's, if you can step back and look at that and really digest that, that's pretty heavy.
And how when you're pointing your finger at someone else or talking about what someone else did, and my cousin is famous for that, I suppose I am too, but she'll say, so-and-so did this and this, what do you think of that? And I'm like, lately I'm like, oh my God, look what you're drawing to yourself, look what you're talking about, look what you want, and look how you're showing me something about somebody else that you're like spilling the beans about yourself, how you are very concerned with that lovelessness. Yep. And you have to stick with that until somebody takes it away or the people stop behaving the way they are.
Yep. So perception did not exist until the separation introduced degrees aspects, and intervals. So perception is when you project out into the world and now you perceive something, put it over here so they can see it, out in the world. So now you perceive that. Now the Course talks about the idea of there's no order of difficulty. And I know most of us, probably initially, that was a little hard to wrap your head around, because if I break my nail and somebody bombs my house, what are you talking about? Those are all the same. But what it's saying is you're either choosing for oneness or peace, or you're choosing for separation. And they're all equally from the same place, creating or making the same problem, which is I see something in the world that appears to take my peace away, when in truth, the only thing that's ever taking my peace away is the belief in separation. Because peace lies here. If this is covered over, peace does not found. And yes, we can, have a sunny day on a picnic and say, oh, this is so nice and I'm so peaceful and whatever. And then the ants start crawling over your food. Because the peace that the Course is talking about is not found in the separated state in your mind. All right.
It's hard to be in this space of everything getting picked apart, like everything, oh, look at that. It's just this kind of energy that I recognize, that how you're looking at things and you think you have to solve, but that's an absolute different problem.
Absolutely, yes.
Else you want to look at, and you have to solve that before then if you can't get that, then you go on to the next, and how you can continue like that.
Yep.
I guess it's like, being,
Okay, let's maybe keep moving.
spiritual football game. Or whatever.
Right. Spirit has no levels, and all conflict arises from the concept of levels. So again, we're constantly playing in the belief system of levels, and then we think the levels are the problem, when in truth, that's not where the problem is. Only the levels of Trinity are capable of unity, and this would be the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, and they're not really separate, they're really all the same. The levels created by the separation cannot but conflict. And again, this is kill or be killed. How could it be peaceful? This is because they are meaningless to each other. And nowhere do these two meet or touch or match. They're mutually exclusive thought system. Okay, so this next paragraph is a powerful statement at the very beginning. Consciousness, the level of perception, was the first split introduced into the mind after the separation, making the mind as a perceiver rather than a creator. And even that sentence is chock-full. Okay, so consciousness, which would be our awareness of something, because here there was only knowing. The moment this got covered over, I now have an awareness of something against something else, which is perception. And if you've ever been into art, they will have things in front of something, and instead of just a flat surface, that represents the perception, depth of perception. You see the trees, if you look out the window, you'll see a big tree in front and then one's behind, which gives that depth of perception that makes the picture pretty. Well, this is saying there isn't any perception here. It's just what it is, which is knowledge. So this was the first split introduced into the mind after the separation. So we had the tiny mad idea of, I wonder what it would be like if I separated, or if I went off on my own. And then the Holy Spirit gave us the answer that said nothing happened, come back home. And we looked at these, and already we were projecting onto God the fear, guilt, sin, and fear in our minds, and we now did not trust that He was just love. Making the mind a perceiver rather than a creator. And again, important statement. Here, God gives us everything. We then create and we extend His love, and those are our creations. When we covered it over, we began to be a perceiver instead of a creator. So now I see this story in front of me called my life, and I perceive that story, and I think it's real. And so I respond and react to it accordingly. And again, the only thing ever went on was a slide was put in front of the light, and now we're looking at the slide. And another way to look at this is, if you remember, and I don't know, you're a little younger than the rest of us, but a long time ago in grade school, they would have a big, huge canister, and they would have a movie, okay? Now, you could see the canister, unlike if you go to a movie theater. Now, all the film, or the part of the film that's already been shown, you could call that the future, or excuse me, the past. Everything still in the canister is the future. But only that one slide, even though it appears there's more than one, because that's how a movie works, is in that moment is the only place that you can stop, catch that thought, and then choose differently if you wish. So the Course talks about the idea that everything began at that moment, and everything has already been completed in that one moment. So all possibilities are in that canister. So now we're looking at the projection on the screen of that big, huge canister of possibilities. And then we call one of those characters me, and we call the rest of them you. So it's a big trick. So when it talks about a lot of times, what I see is coming from my mind. Well, none of us, that doesn't make much sense to anybody, right? I don't think you're all me.
Your eyes are looking or whatever. Too.
Well, it's your eyes are looking.
I mean,
and
that's probably one of the hardest things to,
right.
to see.
Well, yes, we've really done this up big. My eyes see it. I have emotions. I have feelings. I hear things. The whole deal is all wrapped up in this storyline that keeps us very engaged and believing that it's true.
So is it like what I'm looking at with my eyes
Are not true.
are not true because I'm already judging what I'm saying, what I'm looking at, I'm making a judgment about with my eyes.
Right.
And that's not true looking.
Right. So we project it out, and then we evaluate it, is a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Because it's not so that it happens so quickly that you don't realize that you see somebody in a green dress and you think, yuck. I mean, you just come out with that somehow, and you've already evaluated what's there.
Yep. So again, this is so much of what we're being asked to do is look at the screen that you're looking at, observe if it appears to take your peace away, which means I believe the screen is real and I don't believe that God is real, because I'm either one or the other. And so that's a moment where I can become aware, I'm letting this pull me in. Okay, Holy Spirit, I want to know what your answer is. And then use every one of those moments and opportunities to be the one that makes the difference in choosing for this.
So then the judgment also of, isn't that wonderful?
Well, either one, they're all the same.
I
Yep.
think that's the catchy spot, because we keep
Yep.
thinking we're going to get all these grades, and it's just basically nothing's going on, and it's peaceful, which
Yes. Yep.
we want to have the
Right.
state win today.
Right. And if you notice, some of them, are pink and they're kind of cute or a little bit rose. Some of them are
Right.
dark and ugly. Doesn't matter if they're good or bad. They're still part of the projection coming from the mind of duality, and that's why some of them appear to be, sweet and some of them nasty, because in a dualistic experience, there's always both sides.
Always an evaluation going on.
Always.
Before you think it is what it is.
Yeah.
You don't see it for what it is.
Well, and we're seeing exactly what we want to see if I've chosen this. I want, the whole thought system is kill or be killed. I want to see kill or be killed. And then I have a good reason to be justified to hate my brothers, instead of go back into my mind and go, that's a slide that I don't think I want anymore. I want to know what your answer is. But that takes some process, because we're so addicted to responding to whatever goes on, and we immediately are attacking or whatever.
It's the good and the bad. the
Yes.
difference between the good and the bad. There's no
No.
oneness in that.
And the Course has a number of places that say it's not about good or bad. It's about right or wrong or whatever. It's about making a different choice and connecting with your right mind instead of being pulled into the storyline of the ego. Now, you had something first.
Yes, so if you have duality, or you have, and you have polarity, obviously positive and negative,
Same thing, yep.
do you have to be in kill or be killed?
Yes,
Automatically.
automatically. Because oneness doesn't have anything,
Right, but
there's
you
no
can have
contrast.
oneness and not kill.
Well,
Right.
but it's the general concept, right. I mean, I have a plug and one's male and one's female. That doesn't mean but understanding that the entire thought system, everything enmeshed in the storyline of the ego is separation instead of oneness.
Right, and I know that the potential is there to kill,
Right.
because there's something
But
else to kill.
either understand that all of those say God doesn't exist. So in that respect, even though in a specific moment or scenario, it wouldn't be played out as kill or be killed, the fact that you're choosing to believe in this instead of this is killing off God.
Because you're putting an end to it. You're
Putting an end to that.
You're not using a knife or guns, you're just putting an end, like you
Yes.
say, when you're reading the book and you turn the page.
Yep.
That page is dead. It's a different way of looking at that concept. It isn't
Yes.
like you're not a vicious whatever, but you just, okay,
Yeah.
well.
And I think the reason why, and again, not an easy concept for most of us to understand or digest or even want to go there. But as the Course even says, you're either loving or you're hating. Well, if I'm playing here, I'm hating, because this is the only place love lives.
And aren't you also like looking for an excuse for you to be on top of everything, to separate, to say this is mine, that's your, that's what you're looking, you don't really mean to do that, except it's because of the choice. That you're looking at everything as if you have to overcome it, or be on top of things, or, you're the one having to do it.
So when you're saying kill or be killed, you're not talking about in the dream, kill or be killed.
Well, it extends in there, of course, but that's not what I'm talking about, correct?
You're talking about killing oneness.
That's correct. Which again, woo! Yeah.
Well, if you say ending oneness, that's the same thing. It doesn't sound as dramatic.
Right,
You say
right,
you're
right.
ending oneness, you're stopping oneness.
Well, and I think that's the other thing that's so important to continually go back to with the Course, one or the other. And if this has been chose, this one's gone. And this is duality. This is, more than one. And there's always conflict, perception, the whole deal that comes with the choice of separation instead of oneness.
So you could get to a pseudo-oneness in the dream,
Oh, big time, all the time, yes, but that's not the answer.
but that's not oneness.
No.
What would pseudo oneness look like? When you said that, so.
Well, a pseudo-oneness would be, when people make statements like, we're all part of God. That would be an example of pseudo-oneness. Because we're not part of God, we're actually the dream of separation from God.
If we're aligned with the ego, it's the dream of separation from God. That is correct. Though God is there all the time, and yes, we are part of God. But it's whichever one of these two I align with. This is always true, even if I pretend it's gone. In my experience,
Right, but
it's
there's
still
only one.
there's only one. And the Course talks
So
about
in like pseudo-oneness, you'd be saying that
there's two. Right.
God is made up of all the people and all the,
Right.
you have
Yep.
pantheon,
Right.
or pantheistic,
Right.
where God is in everything.
Yep.
That's not what the Course is saying.
Or
Nope.
when you just make nice with somebody.
Well, and there's that. Sure.
That's
Yep.
a pseudo, I like you kind of thing, or we're all pals now here, when deep in your heart, you're like, you wish they'd get the heck out of the way and stop doing what they're doing. I mean, it's just Like, you know, you wanna get along, like you said, well, let's just all get along, even though you're not getting along, you're having an argument with somebody. And they think if by saying that it's gonna somehow change your opinion or your way of dealing with it, and you haven't.
But that's all making it nice in the
Right,
world,
not
and
saying
not that
that-
there's anything wrong initially to play in that avenue, but this goes so much further beyond all of that. All right, so consciousness is correctly identified as the domain of the ego. And I don't suggest people mark their books up unless you want to, but these two first lines are really very important. Consciousness is correctly identified as the domain of the ego, because there was no consciousness until we chose to separate and took it serious. Now we're in consciousness.
What page is that now?
It's text 41, paragraph 1. I don't know what page. Do you know what page it is? Thank you. So again, this is trying to help us understand the unequivocalness of the one choice versus the other choice. The ego is a wrong-minded attempt to perceive yourself, and this is this whole paragraph, yeah, wow. The ego is a wrong-minded attempt to perceive yourself as you wish to be rather than as you are. Now that's putting it right down on the floor in front of us, right? I'll read that again. The ego is a wrong-minded attempt to perceive yourself as you wish to be rather than as you are. And, so often people in the class will say, well, you have to remember, this is what you really wanted. You really want the ego. You don't really want the Holy Spirit, of which most people aren't too thrilled to hear. But what this is telling us, we had a choice. We chose this. This went away in our understanding, and we've lived in this choice ever since. And it's a choice that we wished for. And now we can choose again, now that we're aware there's another choice. For a long time, because we forgot that this choice was available, we lived our lives, fighting and kicking and whatever in the world.
That's because we're just afraid.
It's partially because we're afraid of the love, because we think we did something to love that wasn't very nice.
Right.
And the love says nothing happened, come back home. But we believe it is.
Right.
Yeah. So we keep playing this game until, and I think personally, a lot of the workbook lessons are really there to help us begin to have a different type of relationship with God or the Holy Spirit or Jesus, and be more welcoming to hearing what he has to say instead of what we have to say. Because since the Big Bang, we've been playing this in this arena.
So once you take away that fear, though, then
Well, once the fear goes down, and I personally believe every single time you ask for help, a little bit of the fear is being taken down. Yeah. And one day you'll choose for this, and you won't be drawn back to this at all, because there won't be any conflict any longer, because you will unequivocally know this is who you are.
But at the same time, you want a separate identity.
Well,
That's gonna
but
drive
every
everything.
we don't
moment,
want that because we're afraid.
right, but every moment you stop in the midst of what's going on and you have a little willingness. And in that moment, you're relinquishing the control over the belief in you. Okay? And right now we just do that a little bit, because you're right. We don't want to let go of me. I'm pretty special here. And that's why I play the part of the hero of my dream. But every time you do that, it's kind of like going down, going down, going down.
So it's not just fear.
Well, it is not just fear. It's the identity of this. It's the belief that I'm right. You name it. You wrap those all up in the same package. Fear is ultimately behind it all, but we play it out in lots of different ways in the world.
Because we're afraid to lose ourselves, we're afraid to.
Sure, how could we not?
Wanting to maintain what it has, even until you're ready on your deathbed. Maybe somebody's gonna come and save you from the fact that your body's gonna die. It's not gonna happen. It's just how your every thought you have is about this thing that's gonna be maintained as we come out on top, have the nicest haircut, have this.
You
have
name
that.
it.
You know, it's just, it's very, it insinuates itself everywhere.
Yeah,
Not just
absolutely.
on a, big billboard about, what to do, but just
Right.
everything.
That's why the course is a self-study course, because it's about, having the experience, not
Absolutely,
the
sure.
thought, but
Right.
the experience.
Right, but this experience comes with the consistent choice of, wait a minute, this isn't working, help. And then one day, this will reflect into your world and you go, oh, wow. It won't necessarily be in the moment you ask for help. I'm going to turn this back this way because the chart behind me. It's not necessarily the moment you ask for help that you're going to see this reflection, but it will as we keep doing that, because you're literally, doing this.
It's the bank account example.
It's the bank example, absolutely, bank account, yeah. All right, I'm going to read that line again. The ego is a wrong-minded attempt to perceive yourself as you wish to be rather than as you are. And there's a line somewhere in the Course where it said, when we did that, we thought we now had more than everything. That's how cool we were. The only trouble is we left love behind. We're now in charge. I have an identity. I'm special. I'm different. I'm important. I'm the hero of my dream. But I will never find peace in the midst of that experience.
And that's what the ego will always say, because the Holy Spirit is the opposite of that. We don't need to say any of those things because there wasn't a body, it just was one. And how that's going to feel and look, nobody really knows, except that somebody's going to feel. If you're in a lot of pain over something, then this starts to become more
appealing,
more feasible. So what if I just stop thinking about that and ask God for help? Like you sit there, well, where's God? You have all more questions, but you stop ragging on what you don't like. That's the best part.
But you can align with the voice for God in the dream.
Oh, yes, every time you get out of the way and say, I don't know, show me who I am, you are doing that. Absolutely. But you have to come with empty hands. You cannot bring yesterday's crap with you and say, okay, I want to know what you've got. And that's that little willingness in that one moment where you go, help, I don't know. That's the space that opens up to allow that to come forth.
And it's a good thing. When you are really up against the wall, it really feels much better than the other thing.
Well, and as we keep doing it, literally, as you were saying, Jason, with the, you'll start to have experiences. Once you've had a couple experiences, it's like, well, yeah, this sounds pretty good. But the deal is, you can't ask for help because of the result. You have to ask for help because you want to know who you are. And then the help will come. But if I'm doing it to get something, I'm still back at the ego again. It's a slippery kind of experience. I have to really come with an empty hands and say, I absolutely don't know. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know who I am. I don't know anything. And, initially that's not something we're real comfortable with because we're so used to being in charge and having control and all the other stuff. And we really believe that we are justified with all of that.
We believe we're in charge.
We believe we're in charge.
And then when you find out you're not, there isn't anything you can do except try to be in charge again or stop it.
Yep. And be aware, the moment we made this choice and took it seriously, we did something. And ever since then, we've been doing something, and we've been in charge, and we've been the one that's running the show. And this is saying, you got to let that go, and then I'll replace that. But you can't take that with you and come over here.
You can't tell him that we're going to do something.
No.
Or ask him what
Right.
Let's do this or let's do that.
Yep.
Which is, is kind of like you're out there. You're really out there without, anything to hold on to at all.
Yep. And he even says,
That's
don't
peace.
figure the problem out and then come to me and say, is it okay? He's saying, he's saying you have to come with those empty hands. You can't do it any other way. All right, yet you can.
Mary Ann, I think one of the challenges is getting past the God of sickness.
Well, the God of sickness is the belief in separation.
That's the,
That's what the God of sickness is.
So you mean like when you're sick or when something hurts
It
you?
has nothing to do with the physical body. It has to
Okay.
do with the mind. The mind that
Right.
believes that it is separated will then cover God over with guilt, sin, and fear as well. So I don't trust God. Why would I want to go back to God if he's going to be doing to me what I did to him? Impossible. God was the very first experience we projected onto, and we then made him something other than a loving God. And that's what the Course calls the God of sickness. It has nothing to do with physical illness. Oh, yes, it is. I'll see if I can find it for you. If I don't, remind me to send me a text or something to remind me. Yeah. All right. Yet you can know yourself only as you are. I can only know who I am as this. This has nothing to do with who I am. I think it does. I think it has everything to do with who I am. But this is the only thing that has anything to do with who you are.
Because that is all you can be sure of.
Yes, because
That's
when
really dynamite
when I
answer to that.
when I come to this, I align with knowing.
Yeah, there's
Then
no-
there is no
no more
other
questions.
question. Yes, 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 yes. Everything else is open to question. So literally everything from the illusion or the ego is about question. There's no knowing here. There's only knowing here. So again, this is a powerful, powerful, powerful section. All right, so paragraph 3, the ego is the questioning aspect of the post-separation self, which was made rather than created. It is capable of asking questions, but not of perceiving meaningful answers because these would involve knowledge and cannot be perceived. The mind is therefore confused because only one-mindedness can be necessarily uncertain about what it is. It has to be in conflict because it is out of accord with itself. This makes its aspects stranger to each other, and this is the essence of the fear-prone condition in which attack is always possible. All right. So the ego is the questioning aspect of the post-separated self. And the Course even goes so far as to say any question is against love, because any question is coming from here. It doesn't come from here. If I'm here, I know there's no question to be had. So anytime we're asking questions, even if we're asking questions in regard to the Course, we're coming from here. Not that you shouldn't do that, but be aware that's what's going on. All right, so the ego is the questioning aspect of the post-separation self, which was made rather than created. And again, the word usage, this was created, this was made. Everything from the separated state on is something that was made, not created. And again, these are two opposites. One or the other is only available at one time. It is capable of asking questions, but not of perceiving meaningful answers, because these would involve knowledge and cannot be perceived. Thus the reason when you're over here experiencing pain, guilt, sin, and fear, the answer is drop this and choose for this. And then the answer will come to you. I'll read that line again because it's a powerful one. It is capable of asking questions, but not of perceiving meaningful answers, because those would involve knowledge. So the answer can only come from knowledge and cannot be perceived. It cannot be experienced here. And again, in the progression of our practice and study of the Course, of course you're going to ask questions. Don't feel guilty about that. But what it's saying is ultimately the only answer, once you start to understand the process of the Course, comes from the empty hands of, I don't know, help, give me an answer. That means, again, I don't know the question, I don't know the problem, I don't know the solution, I don't know who I am, I don't know who my brother is, I don't know. I know I'm miserable, help. And to continue to do that as frequently throughout your life experience. All right.
Because you'll get an answer.
Well, you'll get an answer if you come from that place.
Right, you're watching people that I've known all my whole life just kind of shake their heads and go, well, nobody knows. How could we know? We'll never know. I'm like, I want to know, Jesus, can you help me? And I get some kind of a thing of like, drop it, let it go, don't try to keep beating it up, just let it be and see what the answer is. And it's this peaceful feeling of, doesn't matter it doesn't matter what they think about it.
Nope. Right, the mind is therefore confused. Of course it would be confused because it's something other than what it is. And keep remembering, not only did we, when we made this choice and took it seriously, not only did we lose God, we lost our true identity with who I was. Or who I am, I should say, not who I was.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? This is crazy. This, whatever, you hear people talk like that, so.
Well, and it is crazy. I think we'd all agree on that. It's crazy. All right. The mind is therefore confused because only one-mindedness can be without confusion. So we're always confused. Coming to the place of I don't know is the place where I get unconfused. A separated or divided mind must be confused. It is necessarily uncertain about what it is. So again, we don't know who God is any longer when we've chosen for the separation, and we don't know who we are.
We just think we know,
We
think
think,
we know
of
what's
course.
happening.
Yes.
We think we know who should do this, and then we'll say, well, I don't know who's right. You listen to people talk about these wars and where they're taking place. One side says one thing about it, the other says the other thing. There's no solution to it.
Well, and there will never be solution in the insanity. Okay. Again, the separated or divided mind must be confused. It is necessarily uncertain about what it is. Well, if I don't know who I am, how can I possibly have an answer that's going to solve a problem that doesn't exist in my separated state until I choose for this? Again, one or the other in that moment. And, I love the concept in the Course of it. All it requires is the willingness in one moment. If I'm not a happy camper, that's my one moment, and I can say help. And I'll have a reflection of that in my life in some form, even if it doesn't appear to be happening in the circumstance I'm in. In fact, sometimes it can get worse in the experience. But you've done your part. You put your coin in this bank account instead of this bank account.
If I'm not doing something, sometimes feels like I'm attacking. Is an interesting way that the ego has manipulated my mind. It feels like instead of, well, what do you think they'll say? Or, she doesn't, she's not, don't ask her, she doesn't have an opinion. Like, that's really a bad thing. I don't know anything, I'm stupid.
Well, again,
for me, that's been a huge
right, and
deterrent
we've
or fear.
Right, we've set this all up in a way where I'm justified to stay here because I'm upset or irritated about something. And I keep, staying there trying to figure it out and change it. And maybe if I say this, maybe if I do this, it's going to be better. Not going to be better. I'm in insanity. The only place it's going to be better on a ultimate range is going to be when I consistently keep choosing for the holy instant and where I can make a difference. And in the meantime, you're going to go do the other all the time, and that's okay. Just when you remember, okay, wait a minute, this is my instant. I can choose differently if I want. And then, sometimes you don't even want to yet. And that's okay too.
So there's become a difference for me, I guess not just lately, where when I'm having this quiet moment of there's got to be another way, I'm not going to jump into their argument, where I felt like everyone was out to lunch but me, and they better get with it. So that's another aspect of having an ego come and tell you're right, you're with Jesus, good girl, and it's not going to be like that because that's not what it means. But so that's another aspect to it. There's always some other aspect that's going to jump in and say, like, okay, now you just be quiet, everybody else will follow. But instead they get mad at me and then I get mad at them. It's just interesting how you're not allowed to do. Your mind won't let you, or the ego won't let you escape. You're never scot-free of what's.
Nope, it's always got its finger in.
Even if you're asking for help.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting help for what you're asking for, but you know,
Yep.
you think you're gonna get help by being mad at them and walking away. That doesn't work either.
It makes its aspects strangers to each other, and this is the essence of the fear-prone condition in which attack is always possible. So within the separated state, attack abounds everywhere we look. And it will continue to abound everywhere we look because we've chosen to look in that avenue. All right, we're going to skip down to paragraph 6. Thank you. The ability to perceive made the body possible because you must perceive something and with something. One moment here. All right. That is why perception involves an exchange or translation which knowledge does not need. The interpretive function of perception, a distorted form of creation, then permits you to interpret the body as yourself in an attempt to escape from the conflict you have induced. Spirit, which knows, could not be reconciled with this loss of power because it is incapable of darkness. This makes spirit almost inaccessible to the mind and entirely inaccessible to the body. Therefore, spirit is perceived as a threat because light abolishes darkness merely by showing you it is not there. Truth will always overcome error in this way. This cannot be an active process of correction because, as I already emphasized, knowledge does not do anything. It can be perceived as an attacker, but it cannot attack. What you perceive as its attack is your own vague recognition that knowledge can always be remembered, never having been destroyed. Wow, another chock-full of nuts paragraph. All right, so the ability to perceive made the body possible because you must perceive something and with something. So once the separation and then the projection took place, we now made more than one. So it's me against the world, okay? And that's part of the setup of the ego. And we have to understand that the purpose of the ego at this point in time is to perpetuate itself. It lives and breathes to perpetuate itself. And it uses all stops to do that. And bodies are perfectly wonderful. Whether it's my illness or it's my judgment attack with a brother, it doesn't matter. As long as we're thinking here instead of stopping and saying, wait, I want to know what truth is. It's all about captivating the audience, you could say. And we have played in this arena for such a long time that it's like 24 hours a day taken over. And so if we have that moment when we're willing to let it go, that is a moment where we come to a place where we're conscious enough to remember there's another choice, and I want that choice now instead of continuing to perpetuate this. And whichever one of these I'm choosing at any given moment, I am perpetuating.
And just to start with, that the body is not real is pretty
Yes.
revolutionary concept for people who are in their bodies. I mean, you can't really start with that and say, you know, okay, your body isn't real. They're like, you know, where did you come from, Mars?
Sure.
But that's the ultimate question: is where are we? Who are we? Where are we going?
Yeah.
And what they talk about heaven, they talk about, you know, the afterlife and all that. But everybody doesn't. Nobody. It isn't. Why we can have it right now without having to wait and to figure out how to get rid of the body. We don't have to get rid of the body. We just have to.
In fact, the Course says, don't try to get rid of the body. Your body is going to tell you the story of what needs healed. And if I pretend I'm not a body, that doesn't bring me any value whatsoever.
But to say that it's not real off the bat is very revolutionary.
It's all revolutionary.
It's a very stunning proclamation that because already you're scared you're gonna die. And then to think you're not even here anyway is another, like a level, I guess, of
agree.
being scared. Or it's a level of understanding and of feeling better because you think, well, it's my leg hurts, but so,
Yep.
if it's not real, God, Jesus, help me to see how this isn't real. And then that's the only way it dissipates.
There is no world, and we're in God now,
Mhm.
and we think we're not.
That is correct. Yep.
So there is no world.
Yes, but again, I mean, some of us have been studying this course for 30, 40 years. The initial presentation of those concepts and idea are not welcomed with arms stretched out. They're like, what are you talking about? And yet, for whatever reason, we have continued to keep coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back because there is something in the energy of this book that is drawing us back to the true love which we are. But the concepts, for somebody who has spent their entire lifetime and literally since the Big Bang in this storyline, this isn't just going to go, oh yeah, okay. And the Course says this is simple. Yeah, right.
Otherwise, we're gonna just be gone. And who wants to be gone? Because it doesn't look like anything else
Right.
to our eyes.
Right, and the thing is, you think you're here, but you're not really here, so you're not really gone when you leave, because this is all you've ever been anyways. But that's not our experience when we first started studying the Course. So you have to take yourself exactly where you are. If I'm in pain, if I'm suffering, if I feel guilty, you name it, all those wonderful adjectives, that can be the opportunity for you to say, wait, I want to know what you've got to offer me, because I don't think this is working for me anymore. We set this up because we thought this was going to work for us. It's not working for us, or we wouldn't be in this room.
And you got to ask now, how do you work that?
Yep.
I mean, with enough faith in some results to go back to it and say, well, now, how are we going to do this now?
Yep.
And wait, just sit and wait.
And this isn't a mental thing.
This is not a mental thing. And again, it even said a few minutes ago, this does not come as a mental thing or as I'm going to figure it out. It comes as I'm going to drop this story and find out what this story is.
Isn't there this line in the Course where it says your understanding is not required?
It absolutely, it's personally insulting or something. I don't know even
It's
goes that way.
insulting.
Yeah,
To the
right.
ego.
Well, it would be to the ego, because the
Yeah.
ego thinks I need to figure it out. And
But
this
it
is saying,
basically says something
oh,
like,
yeah, it
your
definitely says,
understanding
yeah,
is
it's not
or
required.
even adds anything to,
And, right, and probably, it goes the opposite direction where it messes things up. All right, I think we'll take a break and we'll come back and continue here. All right, so we're in paragraph 6. And I already read the first line, but I'll read it again. The ability to perceive made the body possible because you must perceive something and with something. So that's, part of the pull into the world that made it seem so solid. That is why perception involves an exchange or translation which knowledge does not need, because knowledge is just knowledge. It doesn't need to observe something and then, project it out and then observe it and then interpret it from that point of view.
part of perception is the 5 senses,
Oh,
right?
big time,
Yeah.
yes.
How does that work with a part of perception is 5 senses? You're projecting out, I guess you're projecting out the body.
Well, we project from the mind, okay? And then one of the characters we project is the character called me, the hero of the dream. And so now I perceive myself in relationship to all the other characters in the world.
Okay, and how does the sight, sound?
Oh, okay, well, that's required so that I can see what you're up to. I can hear you. I have emotions about what's different and what has changed. But it's all wrapped in the same canister of that film that's already been produced.
But the 5 senses are designed to keep us separate,
Yes,
right?
definitely.
They
Yeah.
only feed back separation. They don't feed back all this.
Right, and there's a section in the Course that talks about that the the ego actually sends out these feelers looking for things that will represent things it has a reason to be upset about. Well, those are all perceived through the eyes, the ears, the emotions, the feeling, the whole deal.
So somehow the senses just automatically came along with the body,
Yes,
with the so-called
Yeah,
body.
right. yeah, it keeps the body, operating. And it's so up close and personal. You say something to me and you hurt me. Well, how can I deny that that's real? Because, oh my gosh, I mean, someone just chopped my heart out. It's real.
Yeah,
And
Isn't that just
it's,
Oh, go ahead.
keep us busy?
oh yeah, well, and busy too, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
big time.
But
Yep.
even if you look at the perception or the senses,
Mhm.
we don't perceive very much of the visible spectrum. I think it's like 0.002%
Correct.
or
Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
Same thing with the hearing, we don't perceive,
Everything, yep. Yep.
hearing. So
Mhm.
it's kind of wired to keep us separate.
Definitely, well, but understand, everything that the ego makes is to keep us separate. Try to get that in your thinking. It's to perpetuate the illusion and keep us stuck in the illusion. And it works obviously quite well.
But it's foolproof, but
Not
God-proof.
God-proof. Yes, yes,
So you-
yes,
so
yes,
that's the
yes.
thing, like, you can think your way out of it, you can think and think and think and think, but that's not where, the thinking of that does not bring about any change. It's the
Nope.
letting go of all the thinking to the other
Correct.
realm.
And that's why you can't ever figure it out to leave this. You have to literally get out of the way for this to come
I
forth.
don't know why she does that, I don't know why, and you're never gonna know why, so you might as well get with the Holy Spirit instead, because you're not gonna know why.
The interpretive function of perception, a distorted form of creation, then permits you to interpret the body as yourself in an attempt to escape from the conflict you have introduced. Again, it's all part of the setup. I'm now the hero of my dream. I am in relationship to all the things, whether it be people, the air, the temperature, the comfort level, whatever it is, all has to do with this character called me. And it's a huge, huge, gigantic setup that keeps us very involved.
And you have to keep trying to get your bearings in that, otherwise you get really scared. I think I've experienced my cousin always looking at something and trying to interpret, asking me questions and this and that, because she's so scared that she's not there, or she doesn't, she's so scared. It's not because she wants to be obnoxious, or, everybody else thinks she's
right.
being a pain in the neck, but she just can't get her bearings, because there are no bearings to
Nope.
get.
Well, and as we said earlier, there is none here. All right. Spirit which knows could not be reconciled with this loss of power because it is incapable of darkness. Well, understand that this film placed in front of the light is creating or making darkness on the screen that it projects on. We know if you walk into the movie theater and the movie hasn't started, the screen is being reflecting of the light that is being projected. The moment they put the film in, that begins to establish darkness.
That's the part you like, though.
Well,
We don't want to just sit there and look at the empty screen.
well, that's because we're addicted to being egos, not because it's the right thing to be.
Right.
It's because we're so addicted to the illusion and the roller coaster ride. Don't be taking my roller coaster ride away. That's fun. But once we start to understand that this is just a setup that's kept us very involved, and I think when we start to become aware that the roller coaster ride has highs, which we all like, but with the high comes the low. And when we become aware, I don't want the low anymore, we're more willing to let go or at least be shown another answer.
Just not take it so seriously, it's just a roller coaster.
And then there's that.
Because there's so much more to the levels of involvement with spirit that take you beyond any thrill that the roller coaster is.
Once I'm convinced that that's a better choice than the roller coaster ride, yeah. Yeah, Mary Ann, did you have something?
No, I just think it's odd that you compare highs and lows of life to a roller coaster, because people seem to love those lows of a roller
Well,
coaster.
and they do. And when you're addicted to the roller coaster ride, of course, you're going to, I don't think I have my thing here, but if you're addicted to the roller coaster ride, and we all are, because we still get, excited and whatever in the world, but as we begin to keep asking, that roller coaster ride doesn't have as high a high and it doesn't have as low a low. And eventually we'll just go off to the
So then I
smoothly.
like that,
Yeah.
which I like already.
Yeah.
I like what
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But you can't take a 5-year-old that wants to go play in the sandbox and say, just sit here and meditate, because that's not helpful, nor is it for us. And that's why, to me, the Course is so helpful, because it says, be honest with yourself. If you're still excited about the roller coaster ride, go down the roller coaster ride, it's okay. No one's gonna stop you. But, and again, the roller coaster, you might like roller coasters per se, but that doesn't mean that you're not a spiritual person because you like roller coaster rides. But I'm just saying, in general, the ride of this world is pretty, sometimes real nice and sometimes not so real nice. I like the nice parts, and I constantly try to recreate the nice things. But what this is saying is you can recreate all the nice things you want, but you're still lost in a dream that's not who you are. And when you really get to the point where that offers something I want, then you'll eventually keep choosing it to the point where you'll remember who you really are. All right, so the interpretive function of perception, and I already read this, but I'll read it again. A distorted form of creation. So what he's saying is perception is a distorted form of creation because it's something we made rather than what was given to it. Then permits you to interpret the body as yourself in an attempt to escape from the conflict you have induced. So our whole focus goes to the screen instead of to the slide in front of the light. We're now over here. We don't even go back here and nothing's going on here. I just know of this. And it's kind of like this square here. We spend all our time here not realizing there's a this and then there's a that. But until we do that, we just do our best in the world to survive. And then one day, this Course comes along and says, but you have to understand, because of this choice, we projected into the world, and we made this scenario so that I could be an innocent victim and point the finger at everybody else, make them change so I'll be at peace, which will never happen because no matter what I manipulate them to do, it's never going to take this away. And this is about having this taken away by choosing for this. All right. Spirit, which knows, and again, this word know, spirit knows, could not be reconciled with the loss of power because it is incapable of darkness. So spirit knows only light. This makes spirit almost unacceptable to the mind and entirely inaccessible to the body, because if I don't remember that the problem was the choice for separation, and I spent all my time over here in the world trying to fix the world, I'm never going to remember that there's another problem that needs to be solved. And what a setup. I mean, perfect to keep us perpetuating this thought system and playing the part of an innocent victim, so it's not my fault. It's everybody else's fault. Such a wonderful made-up trap. All right. Therefore, spirit is perceived as a threat because light abolishes darkness merely by showing you it is not there. So we've spent eons of time playing in this avenue. The Course comes along and says, Spirit's the answer. Just
over here.
what? Huh? What do you, wait. He must be saying something, this can't possibly be what he's talking about.
Right, yeah.
And Jason sometimes said, well, the hard part is, and it's like, all of it's hard, because we're so addicted to being me. We're so addicted to our, just see how quickly something happens in your life and you're like a balloon that somebody poked a hole in and you're going all around the room because the next thing that comes up that is near and dear and below the belt for me just takes me for a whirl. And that's its purpose. If you're in the world, you're not whirl, you are not choosing for peace. And, fantastic. Well, I mean, it's like the ego has so many ways of which it can pull us into the illusion. And, God's, all of them, positive and negative. Which direction should I turn? There's so many of them. And the only answer is, nothing happened. Well, what good does that do to me in a world that I've got all these things, I've got all these responsibilities, I have all these things I got to take care of, you name it. And I'd like to go party sometimes too. Yeah, I'd rather, do that.
Give me a break. When do I get the day off, right?
Yes.
Well, I think it's interesting how I think that I don't necessarily have to think I'm right. But I also often don't think I don't want to be that other thing where I'm not anything. I mean,
Well,
it's
absolutely.
It's very tricky. Like I think I'm doing the best I can, thinking I don't have to be right. I don't have to argue with anybody, and yet then that I don't really want to just disappear into oblivion.
Yes. And though ultimately that is what will be the experience. What really happens is that you gain everything instead of less than, which is what you're living in now. But the ego part of us will never let us know that this choice is going to bring you everything instead of less than, because we're looking through a lens, based on looking at the football game or baseball game through a little tiny crack in the fence, and we think, oh, this is all there is, and I know everything, and I can tell you the whole story. You can't. The whole story is not available to you because the choice for separation brought a limit. And that's what we're always trying to find, something in the world to fill me up and make me feel better and make me feel important. And if you bring me flowers today, you darn well better bring me flowers tomorrow because I need reinforced over and over and over and over and over again. But I'm not going to find peace there. Yeah.
Do you remember the line from the Course that says something like, your best moment here?
Yeah, multiplied, 1,000 times 1,000, it won't even come close to what truth is. Yeah.
That was something like what those men that crashed into the towers with the airplanes were told. They were killing themselves in the process of getting rid of the infidels or whatever. That their experience would be like with being 10 virgins, or I don't know.
Yeah, 10,000 virgins.
I mean,
Yeah.
a story about that I thought was very interesting. That story was part of about their story. What I was thinking now was just how, so when I ask God for help, it doesn't matter so much anymore if I'm in my body or not. It's like
Yes.
I start to not, somebody asked me, this guy he's started to do meditation, and I'm like, what is transcendental? What does that mean? Well, this means you're not always thinking about your body. So, maybe my toe hurt yesterday, but today because I'm asking God about other things and I'm involved in the way my life is supposed to, my real whole life is supposed to evolve, that my body has taken a little bit of a back seat to how I'm going to relate. Right. And so I think that's the part that's comforting, that you're not going to just be cut off because you're actually letting out a little bit at a time.
Correct.
And when all the air is gone, you're not going to really notice that much because it's not going to be like that.
Nope.
It's not going to be that kind of thing because the ego, that's its threat. That's how it makes you. You feel, oh my God, my body's not going to be there. Well, half the time your body isn't really. You're not engaged in your body. You're just if you close your eye. You're not as engaged in your body as you think you are.
Right. And, I give the example of the movie Back to the Future, where Michael J. Fox has a picture of his siblings, and because his parents aren't meeting each other the way they did when they originally did, the picture is just dissipating. And I don't have to figure out what it's going to be like for me to be okay with the understanding that this identification is not who I am. As I keep asking to see it differently. I'm exposing more of this, and more of this is going away. And slowly, there'll come a point where I'll be, oh, thank goodness I'm here. But the ego part of us is always in there saying, no, don't want to go there. That's not a good place for you. And, keep remembering that these two choices are like opposite opponents to a football game. If I'm on this side, this is not my friend. We're not buds. I got to kill you because I need to remain this. But when you come with that moment, come with holy empty hands unto your Lord, as the Course says, and you say, all right, I'm willing to drop this. Show me this. And, all of us go through rough moments in our lives. And some of the times when the roughest moments come can be the opportunity, if you use it, to really use this. Okay, help. Because we're always practicing, but when, excuse the expression, the shit hits the fan, we dig a lot deeper. Because I can't tolerate the experience that I'm having right now. And I want to know a different way. And then after that kind of calms down, we kind of, we don't use it quite as intensely. And then another one will come along and knock you over. So those can be opportunities, not that you're praying for opportunities to be miserable so you'll remember. Don't go there. But they can be opportunities where, my focal point becomes a little more intense, you could say.
You stamp your foot and you hold your ground.
Yep.
And you're being directed that way. I mean, I didn't want to do things I didn't want to go places. I said, but I kept getting this direction. Well, if you don't do this, if you don't go, what's going to happen? You're never going to know. You're going to be the one suffering because you don't know what's going on. And you're going to be, and so that went on. And so I did it. Like I just said, okay, okay, Jesus.
Yep.
If we're doing this, okay, I'm going. And it made it a lot easier.
Yep. And keep remembering, every week we say that prayer. I am here only to be truly helpful. Yeah, as long as it goes my way and I'm in control, I'm right there with you, Jesus. And he keeps saying, yeah, that's great, but let's try this a little different way.
Well, sometimes I didn't, I felt bad. I felt like I wasn't, maybe I didn't belong there a few times, whatever. But somehow then I would ask that question of Jesus. So are you sure? Is this what?
Right, yeah.
And I would just get this kind of confirming feeling in my gut that, I don't know, you got to stay there. Nobody else, everybody needs you to do this in your family, and nobody else can do it. Which was a really different place for me, although, I always did help my family, but I always felt like, well, I'm just the babysitter, I'm just this, I'm just that. But I was told, no, this is you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to read line 6 again. This makes spirit, wait a minute, that's not the right one. Yeah, therefore spirit is perceived as a threat because light abolishes darkness merely by showing you it is not there. So again, every time you ask, you're literally abolishing darkness, okay? And that's scary because I'm addicted to darkness and light is not really my friend right now. But if you just have that one instant where you do this, then that allows that to come. This starts to grow, this starts to diminish, and eventually this will override that.
And that's a quantitative thing.
It is.
That's a thing Like this, I'm not on care anymore. I don't know.
Yep.
So what happened? It's not there. There's no more fear.
Yep. Well, again, and fear doesn't live here. So whenever I'm spending more time here, I'm going to literally have less fear in the world, no matter what's showing me in the world. All right, so
You can't jump up and down and hoot and holler. You have to ask and wait and then know.
Mm-hmm. But the knowing comes from here, okay, because that's just what you are. All right, so truth will always overcome error in this way. So as we keep choosing in the little instances, eventually we will become much more comfortable in the choosing process because we know the result of choosing is some aspect of my mind becoming more healed. And people will say, well, I don't react as much to things that happen to me, or I don't fall in the hole as often, or if I do fall in the hole, I don't stay there as often or as long. And so it's like we gradually become more mature of the concept of spirituality and less ingrained in the concept of the ego. This cannot be an active process of creation, and I'm just going to focus on that. So what that means is that can't be me doing it. Okay, me not doing, me get out of the way. That's all that's required. Okay, but if I'm still in charge, if I think I know the answer, if I think I know the problem, if I think I know anything, I'm still engaged in being the one in charge. And that's an important concept to understand. I cannot be an active process of correction because I have already emphasized knowledge does not do anything. My only correction, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, is to realize I'm in pain or discomfort, whatever the word may be that's coming up, and I don't think I want that anymore. Help. But that's not me figuring out what help is going to look like or how it's going to show up or when it's going to show up. I don't know. Help.
So would you say that this is how, I guess just the one aspect of sitting still in meditation, sitting still and waiting and asking, I mean, you're in a place where you want to know a
Right.
deeper sense
I think meditation certainly can be a place where you're getting out of the way, but I would also say don't just spend 15 minutes in the morning and night doing meditation and then like people that go to church on Sunday and then they act like idiots the rest of the week, and I'm not picking on anybody, but we have the opportunity literally in every single moment of the day if we choose to choose again.
But also, it's not like taking a pill to relax. It's
No.
sitting quietly, I guess, and some people have to take, they don't know, they don't,
Sure.
this is too scary for them. But
Yes, exactly.
I guess that's what I would say was my, what I came to acknowledge, that there's nothing I can do. And so sitting with that idea, like it's somehow open to God, another idea would come, not about the issue, but about how to proceed. Sit down, have a drink of water, stop thinking, don't jump here, don't run there. So that before when I make a phone call, it's now more, let's see now. Jesus, how shall we do this?
Well, and again, that's another opportunity. Every time you pick up the phone or you go to make a phone call, do you ask to have him walk through you? Again, these are just seems like subtle, intricate things, but those are moments that can be very helpful. Because if I'm saying, okay, I don't want to do this on my own, I want you to come with me as I do this, you're getting out of the way and allowing that to show its face instead of what your interpretation of everything that's taking place looks like.
I got a sense of bona fide doing something, actually, rather than being angry, running away from it, whatever it is, how that becomes its own sense of well-being rather than how you think it's supposed to work. You just start to learn that, no sense jumping around, no sense getting mad. What am I supposed to do? Kind of like this, what am I supposed to do? And your ego sit there and know that there's nothing you can do. Is the step toward that other reality.
Sure.
Or the true reality.
So Marianne,
Yeah.
what if you don't believe what Jesus is saying in the Course?
Then you'll probably go find another journey that works best for you right now.
Okay.
And there's nothing wrong with doing that,
Because he's saying, he's setting up a certain cosmology, a certain way of looking at the world, and, I'm not saying I don't believe.
I understand.
But I'm just saying is if you don't believe, for example, that the Holy Spirit or, where does that leave you? What?
Right. Well, Ken very specifically would explain, this is just, a fairy tale of the story. Just one out of many. And if this one works for you, find out what it means. And if it doesn't, find another story that works better for you. And, there can be that draw to this, but not the intellectual grasping of the story that it's being presented. Now, if you're being pulled by the love behind the words in the Course and you keep coming, eventually it will catch up and you'll start to understand what it said and it'll all come together. But if it's just not your path, then you want to go find another story that works for you. And, sometimes people come for a while and then they go away, try 8,000 other things, and then they come back. I don't know what the process for anybody should look like. Yeah. And, for myself, there certainly were a lot of things that didn't just resonate right away. But I did feel it was something that was for me. And I would just think, okay, I don't get that, but I'm going to put it on the back burner. And Holy Spirit, if this is really true, I want you to show me somewhere down the line that it's correct for me. And wouldn't you know, 10, 15 years later, it would show up and it would make sense.
And according to that movie, that visionary thing movie, I mean, it was a part of something showing up beyond all those religions, and not to make another religion out of it, but to use it. And so I thought that was interesting because it's a whole new way of looking at it, which the other religions haven't really. They argue with each other.
Black and white.
Yeah, well, but that's what we always do, we're arguing about something. Mine's better than yours. Well, in the illusion, yes, but in truth, no.
Right, that's what makes this choice different than any
Yes, I so agree.
The Buddha,
Yeah.
I really quite understood that.
Well, you're either the dot up here or you're the dot here. So you're either identifying with Mary Ann in the dream, which is out on the screen, or you're up here observing the character called Mary Ann in the dream.
Was that Buddha?
Well,
Was her name?
oh, Buddha. I thought you said blue dot. Oh, well, you needed to hear that, brother.
That too, right?
But even with Buddha, I mean, he walked through the world and tried all the things that he thought would bring him enlightenment, and then eventually he ran out of choices doing it himself, sat down in front of the tree and got it. But he had to go through all of those me, I've got to figure it out, to the point where,
And when he got it, then where was he? When he got it,
well, when you got it, you're
he
here.
was there? Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
that's gotten
Well,
it.
he could have been anywhere in the world.
Physically, it doesn't matter where
It
you are.
didn't matter.
Yes.
So this story, The Life of Pi, I think it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
movie, but I just started reading the book, and it's about this young man named Pi, or whatever his real name is, and he actually wants to get baptized in 3 different religions, because in India where he lives, he sees the Christian church, the Muslim, and the Hindu, and so he goes to all 3 of them, and he becomes baptized, or he goes through the motions with all that. And so there's a reason, because as his life progresses, he ends up in the water in a boat with 3 wild animals. I mean, it's just very interesting how, he knew, and the whole beginning of it is he always knew there was God from the time that was the story about it. So it's
When
quite,
did it end?
I don't know, I haven't, I
No,
don't
she's
like
not
to see-
done.
I don't like to see movies as much as to read the book.
I don't like it though.
It was a very dramatic movie. But
Right.
The story of it, I think is quite interesting, because he is acknowledged to God, and then all these things start to happen to him, and some very dramatic things happen, and I'll see what he does about it. I'll tell you next week.
It'll be a new series. every week.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Give me the next episode next week.
Okay.
Or she probably doesn't want to know the answer, maybe you can let her, I'll be several years,
I don't have to tell him the end, it's just
Right.
he's like
Okay.
dedicating himself to God, so
Okay.
that's the
So,
thing I was thinking in 3
Line 8, I'm going to read again. This cannot be an active process of correction because, as I have already emphasized, knowledge does not do anything. So try to remember, when you're trying to control it, when you're trying to figure it out, when you're trying to go back and forth in your head to find the best way and how you want to do it, you're literally coming from here, okay? And this is saying, stop and choose this instead.
You're overstimulated.
Right. And, it's to be gentle on ourselves. Of course, this is what we've done since the Big Bang. I got to figure it out. I got to find the answer. I've got to is normal. It's almost like there's this innate aspect of ourselves that is, got to do it. And to really come to totally empty hands where you go, I don't know, help. And literally come from an empty space of, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, straight from Michigan. I haven't even been home yet.
All right. So it can be perceived as an attacker, but it cannot attack. So what this means is if I'm identified with this, this can be perceived as an attacker. It's not an attacker, but because I've aligned myself with this, I see this as an attack on who I think I am. Well, I'm not a me, I'm not a body, all my concepts, all my everything don't exist. Well, what good does that do me? But that's not an attack because it's really leading us back to the memory of who we and what we are. But if I identify with this being who I am, this again is not my friend.
If you use it as an attacker, I mean, my grandmother used to say, did you go to church? Did you do this? So she
But
would
that's
like
not
imitate
even
us with
about
that.
it. It's about the
You could see
the
that part of yourself is not.
Right,
You could see the
it's-
Holy Spirit is not being what it is.
it's that thought of separation that covers over truth. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the world. It's a belief that this overrides this. And if I begin to be exposed to this, that appears to be an attack on the existence of what I think and what I am and what I believe. But this is not an attack, it's simply what you are. What you perceive as its attack is your own vague recognition that knowledge can always be remembered, never having been destroyed. So what this means is this is available to be remembered at any time, and it will never be destroyed. I can fight with these only because I believe this is, I should say, I would fight with this because I am so addicted to the belief in this that it overrides what love really is. And so for a great deal of the course, it's about becoming aware of the setup of this storyline that we've done so that we would stay separated from the love of God and be an innocent victim of circumstances beyond my control. And then I can blame it on everybody else. And if I really want to get back to this, I have to come with empty hands and ask to be shown something beyond what this is. And, literally, when you're asking from that point, you're literally rising above the battleground of time, and time will continue to tick, but you're up here in that moment. And when you come back down, you've literally collapsed part of that time frame, which you would have had to tick, 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 tick in. So it's literally a opportunity to collapse time and get back to where we are, to home, much faster. Because at that moment, I'm relinquishing my thinking, my space experience, my body experience. I'm saying, I don't know, help.
So for once, I have a question.
Sure.
I should be home resting. Anyway, so I saw something coming down on the turnpike as I was driving, and I thought, I should pray for this person. Just occurs to me listening to you. So, if you saw something yourself, and you saw that maybe some help on the human level is needed, the ego
Right.
level,
Right.
would you first ask the Holy Spirit if I should pray, or would you just pray?
I would say it's okay to pray, but don't pray in the definition of what the outcome should be.
So that's what I'm getting to. So from what I saw,
Right.
I was thinking, I gotta just pray for more love on the planet or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't, trying. I don't like doing that where you say,
Right.
this person should be well now.
Right,
I don't know what the
exactly,
story is.
right, yes, exactly. Because you don't, for the highest good for everyone, maybe is a good way to put
Yeah,
it.
that's what I do, or
Yeah.
this or what is even better. I say that
Exactly,
too.
yeah.
So you would just pray first, in a
Yeah.
general way,
Right.
not ask the Holy Spirit.
Well, I
if
mean,
should
to me, that prayer would be to the Holy Spirit.
Oh,
that would be
pray-
my
You would pray
experience,
to
right.
the Holy Spirit to,
Yep.
if there's an opportunity or a need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because and the reason why I emphasize this is because and it doesn't, and it's hard if it's our own family members or whatever, it's real easy, make them better, and understandably, but we don't really know what anybody's, highest good is. And I remember years ago, I went to a class where you could do remote healing and different things they were teaching or whatever. And one of my neighbors was very ill, and I was sending her this healing, and she was kind of an obnoxious woman. And it was almost as though she took that and then just threw it back at me. I could just feel it like a jolt in my body. And it was like, oh my gosh, she doesn't want to heal. She's done. She wants out of here. So that really taught me. It was not, but it was like it was none of my business how that love was supposed to be. But it's okay to do the love thing, but it's none of my business as to how that's to be used. Yeah. So it was a good lesson. I never forgot it. Right.
Yeah.
And she did die shortly after that. So yeah. All right, so I'm going to read that last line again. What you perceive as its attack is your own vague recognition that knowledge can always be remembered, but never having been destroyed. So, so often when people talk about having a holy instant or whatever, and it's almost like it's startling. It's not as comfortable as they thought it might be sometimes. And the reason is because we're so accustomed to this and so unaccustomed to this that transition might take a little getting used to it, I guess you could say. And it can be a good thing, but it takes some time for me to integrate it, I guess is a good way to put it. And
By
it's,
definition, is threatening.
well, it's definitely threatening by definition, no question about it, yeah. And I think as we, I always love the idea again of the holy instant where I just choose in that moment to open up, is it allows just as much as I can take in, but it sometimes doesn't feel like I'm ready to take it in because again, we're so used to the ego aspect of it. But it's almost like climbing a ladder and you take one step up and it's like, it's my footing is kind of off, and then you sort of feel more and more comfortable in that place, and just about the time you get real comfortable, you take the next step and the whole process feels the same again, because it's much more, we're much more unaccustomed to that next step forward than we think we are. And
We
yet,
don't know it's gonna look different up there, or somehow that's not part of what we just wanna get to the top.
yeah. And again, it's like, I think especially when we initially start working on the course, it's like we want to run up the ladder. But that's not really very beneficial for us. And this idea of, if this is what I solidly believe in all the time, and if I even have just a little bit of light, that's pretty shocking. And, so we want to do this very, 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 very gently. And a lot of times people will try to edge the ego on, for a lack of a better way to put it, and they'll jump like this, and then the fear will become so intense that it actually throws them back into the darkness even more intently. So be gentle in the process, and when the shift occurs, enjoy it, but don't try to push it further than you want. You really, because that's just you trying to be in control again. And you really want this to be an unfolding process rather than a shove you down the door kind of thing. And if we do it from that perspective, it becomes a very rather more gentle ride than we sometimes push ourselves into. So, yeah. All right, so on to paragraph 7. Let me just, because I didn't make a copy of all of that. Okay. All right. God and his creations remain in surety and therefore know that no miscreations exist. Truth cannot deal with errors that you want. I was a man who remembered spirit and its knowledge. As a man, I did not attempt to counteract error with knowledge, but to correct error from the bottom up. I demonstrated both the powerlessness of the body and the power of the mind by uniting my will with that of my Creator. I naturally remembered spirit and its real purpose. I cannot unite your will with God's for you, but I can erase all misperceptions from your mind if you will bring it under my guidance. Only your misperceptions stand in your way. Without them, your choice is certain. Sane perception introduces sane choosing. I cannot choose for you, but can help you make your own right choice. Many are called, but few are chosen. Should be, all are called, but few choose to listen. Therefore, they do not choose right. The chosen ones are merely those who choose right sooner. Right minds can do this now, and they will find rest unto their souls. God knows you only in peace, and this is your reality.
Mary?
Yeah.
You use the word souls.
Yes, he does throw things like that in there occasionally.
Souls are part of the ego, right?
That's correct. Well, we think we're part of the ego.
Yes.
Where do you see that?
No, Mary said,
No. Isn't it, but in that, the whole thing you just read, there's no.
I don't think it's.
The right minds can do this now, they will find rest unto their souls.
Oh, that's just a metaphor of peace.
okay.
Not, yeah.
Are we still on 42 or 43?
We're in 43 now,
That's seven,
the bottom.
at the bottom.
So God and his creations remain as surely and assuredly, and therefore know that no misperceptions exist. So he knows only of this, so there's no such thing as a misperception. Truth cannot deal with errors that you want. And what that means is if I want to remain separated, truth is no good to me. What value is that to me if I'm playing in the game? Truth cannot deal with errors that you want. I was a man who remembered spirit and its knowledge. So again, the word knowledge, the knowing of who I am. As a man, I did not attempt to counteract error with knowledge, but to correct error from the bottom up. So again, you're not going to figure it out as long as you're aligned with the separated state. It is only when you go to the bottom of things, which is knowing who I am or asking to know who I am. I demonstrated both the powerlessness of the body and the power of the mind. So again, gave less energy to the body, more to the mind. By uniting my will with that of my Creator, I naturally remembered spirit and its real purpose. So if you're in a situation where there's a problem and you recognize I'm not at peace and you desire to go to peace, you're literally asking to be aligned with the will of God. And the will of God is nothing happen. By uniting my will with that of my Creator, I naturally remembered spirit and its real purpose. I cannot unite your will with God's for you, but I can erase all misperceptions from your mind if you will bring them under my guidance. So again, I can't figure it out, I can't do it, but I can call on him and that will heal the spirit. Only your misperceptions stand in your way. Well, that's nice from his point of view, but that's a whole lot from my point of view because there's so much stuff that I hold that I don't even know that I'm holding against the love of God. Without them, your choice is certain. Sane perception induces sane choosing. So he's saying, again, insane, sane. And that's kind of... from the ego point of view, having to be told that we're insane is not very comforting. But if you understood, this is guilt, sin, and fear, suffering, pain, you name it, and this is peace, love, and joy. Wouldn't I call myself insane if I was continuing to constantly choose this instead of this? Only your misperceptions stand in your way. Not nobody else, nothing else in the world, just my belief in the perception of something that I'm not. Without them, your choice is certain. So what he's saying, if you didn't have that, you'd choose the right answer. Sane perception induces sane choosing. So the more sane my mind is, the more I'm going to choose from a sane place. I cannot choose for you. In other words, God cannot do this. How many times people will say, well, there's a war going on. Why doesn't God just come down and fix it for us? Yeah, and the Course is saying, God doesn't know what's going on. Why would he come and fix it? You have, what's that?
Try to tell that to the world.
Well, try to tell it to us. But I can bring this and put it aside so I can ask what the answer is.
Because God's answer is all there, it's all out in the open, but nobody wants to look for it.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
why there isn't any such thing as peace in the world, because the world doesn't care about that
No,
particular
we're not
thing.
really looking for
They
peace.
want they want what they want.
Right. And this line 12 is really potent. In fact, Ken actually has written a book with this title. Many are called, but few choose, but few are chosen. And because in the Bible that it refers to that, and basically what that's in the Bible means, there's special people who are going to make it, and the rest of us schmucks aren't going to make it. Okay, basically that's what it means. Should be all are called, but few choose to listen. So this is, unlike most spiritualities, this is very unequivocally, we are all one, we are all going to make it, or none of us are going to make it. All right, therefore, they do not choose right. The chosen ones are merely those who choose right sooner. And again, choosing right is getting out of the way and asking to be shown who you really are. Right minds can do this now, and they will find rest unto their souls. God knows you only in peace, and this is your reality. So again, he only knows of this. And we have the choice of this and this, but before we only thought we had this choice once we were in the separated state. And Ken, I know I've said this many times, but Ken has said many times that this course is about recognizing you do have another choice. There's another part of your mind that can choose differently when you're ready to choose it. And even if you're not ready to choose it, the fact that it's available to you is showing you there is another way. All righty. That's all, folks. All right, everybody take a nice big deep breath. And let it all go. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true nature with, let's try it, where no illusions and where none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. Let us not wander into temptation, for the temptation of the Son of God is not your will. And let us receive only what you have given, and accept but this into the minds that you've created and which you love. Amen. All right, carry on. Remember, who's in charge? Who's your daddy?
I remember being, as a child, being included in that group